second guest of the evening. And I'll pull up that information. I will send an invite out to our friend Seth. Okay, so Seth.
Hello.
Hey there. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing fantastic. Now, Seth, you and I think we have been kind of adjacent to each other in the New York Shakespeare scene for many years, and I think
It's
we've kind of
15, 20 years, something.
something like that. And I think we kind of crossed paths here and there, but I don't think we ever actually did any work together, did we?
I think maybe if we did anything, it would have been maybe like some instant Shakespeare Company readings or something like that. It would have been something random. I'm sure we've been in the audience for each other's stuff or something.
Well, that I know for sure. I know for sure I was in the audience for some of your stuff because I remember there was one production that you were in. I don't know, maybe it was like 2007 or 2008, and I was talking with one of the directors afterwards, and he was coming to me and he was saying, "Well, how about this guy in the cast, and how about that guy in the cast?" And I was like, "Well, that Seth Duerr guy. He's like."
Thank you. The text in the mail, buddy.
And another time, I think this was around the time where you were just starting York Shakespeare. York Shakespeare you're the founder and artistic
That's
director
right.
of York Shakespeare. And at some point in the early stages of that company of yours, I remember you had a production that you were doing, and an actor, and it's terrible because I don't remember the guy's name. I remember his face. And I don't remember. I remember he came to me one time and he said, "Hey, Rodney, can you help me do a little bit of outside coaching on this monologue? I'm working with this guy Seth Duerr, and he's doing
Oh,
this
God.
Shakespeare." So we've kind of been in the same orb as each other, but not. I don't think we ever quite.
Listen, I'm happy to hear that, my actors wanted to get some work in off the clock. That's great.
Oh, but no, but listen, they were all everyone I've ever worked with or talked to who's been in your realm has always been had nothing but great things to say. They always like,
I've also been very lucky. I think you got to hire. There's a few ways to do it, especially if you're an actor manager, in like the classical old school, which is dying off, of course, just as a way of doing things. But you can hire people who are worse, and that makes you look better in one way, but not really. Or you can hire people who are as good as good as you or better, and they will make you look way, 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 way better. So
right, yeah.
I try whenever I can to go that route.
Okay, all right. So as we've been trying to be playing catch up for a bit, for those who don't know, Seth has been around the New York Shakespeare scene for many years as a performer, as a producer, a director, and pretty much anything else you could name in the scene. And again, he has the York Shakespeare Company. Prior to that, I know you were around. You were in all the different classical companies around town. You've been all over the place. When exactly did York Shakespeare start?
I actually started it in college. I made my decision on which college I was going to go to based on how much scholarship money and if they would throw any extra cash on top. So there were some that were like a quarter scholarship, a third, a half, whatever. One gave me a full ride and some money on top, and I said, okay. And so I took that and I started the company. So I was a sophomore in college when I started. So that was 2000. It's been around for the last 20 years. Not as active lately. I've been busy with the book and staying in bed and watching my programs.
As any good Shakespearean should do.
Yeah.
But
well, listen,
yeah.
I did so much from 2000 to 2010, just in that one decade. I did something producing, directing, and or acting and stuff. I think almost 100 productions in just those 10 years.
I believe
and
it.
So I got a little spazzed out. I needed like a rest, like just calm down.
I remember, especially when you started York Shakespeare. You were active. I would always any casting call I would go to, they'd be like, "Yeah, we have Seth Duerr. We have," and we'd go, "Oh, Seth's everywhere." And you were all over the place. And then once you started York Shakespeare, then you were doing like 5 shows in rep at a time.
Oh, there was one time, Rodney, I was doing 13 shows at once.
Goodness gracious.
8 of which were at one company. Plus I was doing a Shakespeare in the Park. Then I was doing one at the Jean Cocteau. So I was playing all these things at once, and it was insane. But that's, I get bored very easily, and I also, my attention snaps so I need to just have something different to do every night. And I think it's more exciting for audiences too, because the feat of that, if you can accomplish it, is really cool. You can also completely fall on your ass, but my experience has been pretty good over the years. So I like that. I like getting to play Coriolanus on a Tuesday and Timon of Athens on a Wednesday and Lear
Well,
on a Saturday.
that's very much in keeping with Shakespeare's day itself. That's what it was like back then. They had how many shows in repertory they were doing at one time. Yeah, absolutely. And you're a top-notch actor. Anytime I've seen your work, you're always
Thank you.
doing fantastic stuff. So tell me, the York Shakespeare is kind of like in a little bit of a toned down phase right now, and you've been focusing more on this book. What's going on with the book?
Well, yeah, I'll address the tone down phase first because I know you would have talked about COVID. The tone down phase for York Shakespeare had nothing to do with COVID. I've been socially distancing for 39 years. And also just the company had been on hiatus. We haven't actually produced anything since I think the summer of 2013, like a full production. We've done readings and things like that since, but I needed a break, steam coming out of my ears, flames on the side of my bald head. I lost all my hair. That's what doing all that Shakespeare.
13 shows at once will do that to you.
Yeah. So anyhow, and one of my actors said to me once, because my company, infamously, it's an actor manager company, so it doesn't have a board. It's just me. So one of my actors said, "What happens? Do you just get up out of bed one morning and just decide whatever plays you're going to do, and that's it, and you just go ahead and do them? You don't have to get anyone's approval?" So, well, firstly, I usually don't get out of bed, but if I do, yes, that's actually the process. And I would just choose. I go, what do I want to work on for the next, 3 months, 6 months, a year? What am I going to still be happy with, into a long rehearsal period, with many shows and a run. Anyhow, so we were on hiatus a bit, non-pandemic related. The second we wanted to come out of hiatus, somebody got elected that made me immediately think, oh God, I have to completely rework the entire season because all the plays I thought we didn't need anymore are now suddenly relevant again. So I start thinking about, programming a new season. I finally come up with one that addresses that insane monster. And all of his cronies and everything that got him into that position. And I created a season that I was really excited about. And then I thought to myself, and again, this was right before COVID, I go, there's going to be something, I can't tell what it is, but I feel like if I go and I raise like $250,000 to go do a season, and it somehow raises, and do all that work and put everything up, for some reason I feel like the whole thing's going to collapse. I can't explain why. I just feel like the theater is going to close. I don't know what it is, but I feel like it's all going to go to hell. And then
you felt it in the air.
Yeah, COVID happened, and then I'm like, again, because I've been, a hermit my whole life, and I don't like most people. I mean, I like them, but at a distance in the audience with the lights turned off on them. I like them like that. So I just whatever it was, and then I felt it in the air. So that addresses the tone down phase. What was the second part of your question? Oh, the book.
The book.
I'm here to promote a book. You'd think I would remember. I have an emotional support zebra here, just so the talking points, and he matches your jumpers, and that's good. I'm very sane, ladies and gentlemen. So the book, Jared Kirby, who was on your show, I think, he is my company's fight director for, at least 15 years. I think we've been working together longer than that. And it was his idea. I give him full credit for it. I wouldn't want any. I'm really upset that I've ever had to write the book at all. Jared is very smart. He got me, a fourth or fifth scotch one evening, which is still very light for me, but it's enough where if he said the words, "Hey, Seth, you know what no one's ever done? A book on staging Shakespeare's violence." Every single thing that's in the stage directions, which of course is spare because there aren't any stage directions.
Right.
But then also going through each play scene by scene and figuring out where potential moments of violence might be, and going through every character's psychology and the given circumstances, what's going on. And so we treat each chapter, like if you're working on a play, you walk into a rehearsal room and do table work in week one. There's, a million editions of the play, there's lexicons, there's all these supplementary materials. We wanted something in there where someone could open it up when they're working on fight scenes, or even thinking about, hey, I want to physicalize something here. I don't know if it would necessarily work. And just to sort of trigger ideas and ask questions. And we wanted to have it so that people could just open up to whatever chapter. Each play gets a chapter. You open it up, you go to whichever scene you're working on, and
Mm-hmm.
we're going to ask you a bunch of questions. We'll provide some possible answers.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we won't. So like at the beginning of the book, we hold your hand a lot. We go through like really breaking it down. But as the book progresses with each chapter, we stop giving answers and ask more questions to the point where hopefully you're starting to, do a lot of that work yourself as well. But yeah, there's not a book like it.
It reminds me of for Shakespeare nerds out there. There's the book, the Shakespeare Lexicon and Quotation Dictionary, which is like one of the Bibles that you go and you look up your words there. And this seems like it's like the stage combat iteration of that.
That's
Stage and
exactly.
Shakespeare.
It's exactly
So
what it's like. But there's also, because that can get very clinical, as you can tell, just based on the emotional support zebra, something is a little off here. As there is with most Shakespeareans, and particularly actor managers, you have to have several screws loose to go into this. And so there's a lot of really great color commentary in the book. There's a lot of great asides. There are bits throughout where Jared and I will argue with each other in bracketed sections and about how we would stage a scene. But the
mhm.
entire point of that is we don't have to agree on everything. Neither should all the people in your rehearsal room, and you should have these conversations. So again, we just want to keep giving the idea of what would table work be like in the situation of any of these given plays. And some of these plays are really obscure. So, a lot of these are just being like examined, not for the first time, but maybe for the first time together in a major volume and sort of in this capacity. And it's a lot of fun. And even people who don't work in the theater can pick this thing up. If you're just a Shakespeare enthusiast, you can pick it up. There are horror stories we put in this book, things that have gone horribly wrong. We have actors from the Royal Shakespeare Company, the National Theatre, Shakespeare in the Park, a few others who come in and just tell horror stories of what should have happened if they had like a competent fight director or intimacy consultant. We cover that stuff as well.
Mhm.
Really anything where there is the possibility that actors could be physical with one another in a scene, we're covering it. Just to piggyback real quickly on Thea's point, I was listening as she was saying a few things that I thought immediately you could just open this book up. She mentions the women in Caesar who both, who go on their knees. You open to Julius Caesar, it says see glossary -knees. You go to the glossary, there's a whole thing on actor
Wow.
safety for your knees. Again, protecting your actors, thinking about them. They're not just like, props. And then like another thing that came up I thought of when she mentioned it was Hamlet. Some of the other actors, having to respond and, do scene work based on what their scene partners are doing. I know Deborah Ann Bird was on you work with her on the fourth folio, I think.
Mhm.
I did a production of Hamlet with her, I think that was back in 2007, maybe that's what you saw. But I was Claudius and Timothy Stickney was Hamlet. You open up to the Hamlet chapter in here, and I go through, because Timothy did X, Y, and Z, here is why I didn't yell at him or grab his ear or do this thing to him.
Wow.
And then I substitute in the chapter, I say, if I was working with this other actor, on the other hand, I probably would have done this, this, and this. And really taking that into account so that you're not
Mhm.
working in your own little universe. And again, as egotistical as an actor manager may seem, and yes, I am pretty egotistical, but please don't tell anyone. You have to work with your scene partners. And this book is all about that.
Oh, this sounds encyclopedic. It sounds like the be all and end all of stage
It's in
combat.
2 volumes. The publisher said we're not publishing this in 1 volume. We're out of mind. So I'm like, great. I have to write a second book. So really, every day I just send hate texts to Jared. That's all that happens now.
So I think ultimately, people, if they buy the book, they should get to see you guys do a stage combat session together on air somewhere. And maybe that'll be part of our deep dives. We'll do a deep dive
Maybe.
into
I
you
mean,
two having a stage combat.
Jared and I did teach some classes for a little while. There's not a bone in my body that has any desire to teach. So it got lost on me pretty quickly. And he's a fantastic teacher, an incredibly patient individual. I'm not. I'm good for fine tuning. So if you're already a great actor and you you have a monologue and you want to do that, I will do that for hours with you and be very, very happy. But if I have to like teach you acting from the ground, I'm the wrong person. Keep me away. And at least I'm just honest about it. I think there are a lot of other teachers who are not.
You're definitely the right person to be co-writing this book with Jared. So if people want to start to be able to pre-order this book, where can they find it?
It is on Amazon right now. It's on Barnes & Noble right now, and it's on our publisher's site. And I think they probably have some discounts or something up there. It might be best to go through them. I don't know. This is the first interview, so thank you very much. But they are Pen and Sword in the UK.
Okay.
So you can go there, but Amazon I know already has it, and they're selling them.
And it's called Staging Shakespeare's Violence. And what's the subtitle? It's the cue to... Yeah,
that's got a little confusing. So the book was originally titled My Cue to Fight, and I thought that was very clever of me, because it was from Othello. He says, were it my cue to fight, I should know it without a prompter. It's Act 1, Scene 2. And yes, it is. I haven't even written the Othello chapter yet. Anyhow, and then the subtitle is Domestic Fury. And the reason for that is the publisher asked us to do 2 volumes instead of like 3, where you would normally go history, comedy, tragedy. So I'm thinking to myself, how do I divide the plays into 2 volumes? What do I do? And so the first one is called Domestic Fury, and the second one is called There's Villainy Abroad. So all the British, all the royal stuff, all the stuff in England or close by is covered in the first volume. And then everything in the further away kingdoms where he was trying to set stuff, to cover his ass, that's in volume 2. And then the publisher turned around and said, we can't call it My Cue to Fight, just call it Staging Shakespeare's Violence, because that'll sell easier and quicker. I said, fine, you do whatever you need to do in publishing. and so we did that, but then they kept My Cue to Fight anyway, so it looks like it has 7 titles, whatever. Buy the book, it's hilarious.
Well, get through the first page, get through the titles, the subtitles, everything else, and get into the content. And I'm sure it's just fantastic stuff. They can find your company at yorkshakespeare.com.
.org.
.org, yorkshakespeare.org.
Because we're very professional, isn't that right, Mr. Zebra?
That's it. And you can find Seth Duerr and Mr. Zebra at Seth_Duerr on Twitter, I believe. And Seth Duerr elsewhere. All right, Seth, it's a wonderful to catch up with you and all the things you guys are up to. Good luck with the book, and I hope to catch up with you guys again soon.
Thank you, Rodney. Pleasure.
All right, all the best. All right, so that was Seth Duerr of the book Staging Shakespeare's Violence with our friend Jared Kirby, who we had on in a previous episode, a wonderful stage combat practice.